The town of St. Michael's is located on a peninsula and blue water is always in view. The front door opens on the Miles River, which empties into Eastern Bay, thence to the Chesapeake. The back door opens on San Domingo Creek, which widens into Broad Creek and eventually into the wide mouth of the Choptank River. Almost everyone in St. Michael's is at least one part waterman, and this I like. I sit outside and look across the Miles River, where the oyster tongers are working in their bateaux and the boats are anchored. Often in the winter, I can see great rafts of swan in the distance, and the little dipper ducks are at home close to the dock. But my greatest thrill is to watch the old watermen come pounding home after they've sold their catch. The oldest is 84, and still goes out, tonging in the winter, crabbing in the summer. He stands straight as a poker, cuts off the motor at the exact moment to give him the momentum to coast to his berth. He may steer with one foot, or anyway, it'll be the easiest way. Because he was living in St. Michael's at that time. I think he and his wife had bought 3 building lots for $200 a piece down off of San Domingo Creek. And by this time he had left his wife, or she'd put him out, and he had no place to go.
Gilbert built a prefab one-room house that he brought to St. Michael's on the back of a borrowed Dodge truck, or Chevy truck, it doesn't matter, with an outhouse balanced on the top.
And there was no electricity, hadn't been run down, no telephone. The only heat he had was a fireplace, and he had an outdoor privy, and he had to bring in bottled water from St. Michael's. So he was really out-Henrying Thoreau. He was really a poet first, and a writer, a novelist or whatever second, because his even this is poetry, and not that and that's what he got coming out of Washington College. He remembers this English teacher that led him to that.
I just, Gilbert was just kind of maybe what I would have liked to be, although I don't think many of us would have lived that, kind of lonesome a life in a little cabin with a dog by the edge of the bay. But I still, all this time later, find his poetry really speaks to me. I mean, you look back at some of Gilbert's stuff, like these Chesapeake Men, and that's just a beautiful evocation of the bay at a certain point in time. And I think if you were going back and doing a history of the Chesapeake 500 years from now, that would start out one of your chapters, because it really tells you what was going on then.
I would feel very safe in calling Gilbert either one of the first or the very first writer who was concerned about what we would call ecology and the Chesapeake Bay and the condition of the bay. And the timing was amazing, because he grew up in, like, the big separation, but perhaps being the Bay, building of the Bay Bridge in '51. Most of it, half of his life was basically before that, and maybe half after. And he could see the change. People
like Gilbert, and mainly Gilbert, kind of showed me early on that there's more to it than water quality and air quality and acres of riparian forest buffer, that there's, that's what we aim for and talk about and legislate, but the reason people spend all that time is because they love the place, and Gilbert kind of set out why they love it. And
he had an offer to go to New York, do some other things, and he went to New York, and it either didn't work out, or he didn't want to live there, or the saying is that once the Eastern Shore gets in your blood, you can't leave. For whatever reason, it didn't work out, and he came back to be a regional writer. You could certainly call him the voice of the Chesapeake Bay. I think he wrote, when you count up all of his columns and articles, he may have written more words about it than anybody, literally, over a period of decades. Yeah. He realized that he was lucky, and that he was one of the few people who could live life pretty much the way he wanted. If it didn't exactly start out that's what he wanted, it certainly became that, and he did realize it and appreciate it.
The guy sat there for a long time and recorded very beautifully and faithfully what came his way and the bay, and that's a nice legacy to have. I don't think most of us could want better.